Benji, Brady, welcome in. We are here for part two of our quarterly rhythm. We got into the conversation on the last episode for episode 32. And I mean, it's one of those conversations as we dove in, we got about halfway through and said, guys, we're going to have to split this one up again, which I think is great. It shows
Oh,
we're
yeah.
diving into this, some of this conversation and things that I feel like are great for people to hear. And honestly, it gives us a chance to really break them down. But we've got a couple more things to chat about today so we can really break down this topic. We're going to dive a little bit more into, family life, work life, and then really kind of help you guys as we wrap up this topic for this part two is really how you can apply that. So pumped to jump into it today.
I think it'd be good for our listeners. And by the way, listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in each time we have a episode drop. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate your feedback, your engagement in our social media and all. But I think it'd be good, Brady, if we just kind of recap for those that maybe someone's on here new listening for the first time. It's the latest episode. Just kind of a quick recap of the case for the rhythm that we came up with quarterly rhythm and how it could work to their benefit.
Yeah, so I think the core theme of what we talked about on the last episode was getting into some type of rhythm, and really that rhythm is biblical as well. So God designs seasons, and there's seasons for a reason. So if we look at it in quarters or seasons, then we sprint to or get to a specific milestone, which would be the end of the quarter. And yeah, we've done strategic planning, and we've done objectives and goals and things of that nature. But what we're able to do is really set aside time to look at and say, okay, how are those things going? And so each quarter, and it kind of ties into what we did a couple episodes ago. We talked about halftime and halfway through the year, and are there adjustments that need to be made, and all those different things. So last episode was really more about leadership and business, and today is going to be more of leadership in life. Like how are we leading our families, and how are we doing it? If we're going to do it in a business setting, then we've really got to model that in our own personal lives. So that's kind of what we're going to break down today.
Yeah.
And that's always exciting to jump into because, one of the things you have to think about, whether you're business owner, creator, whatever it is. I mean, as we jump into some of these rhythms, I know we're about to look at, yourself, your personal life, your family. But I mean, if you're not feeding yourself and you're not taking care of yourself and not to dive into like the deep of that, but if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, I mean, it's going to wear on you to the point where you're not going to be able to perform and you're not going to be able to succeed. So I know personally for me, this is one of the things I've shared with you guys. I'm trying to figure out too and work through. So I'm excited to jump into these topics and just hear from you guys and what you've experienced and really what our listeners can take from it.
Yeah, I think the core idea here is sometimes we'll just go from this is a leadership podcast. So from a leadership perspective, it's a lot of times we worry, or think about our organizations, and we really don't think about ourselves. And so there's obviously we quote John Maxwell in here a lot, and Benji and I actually heard this a lot growing up from our own father, but he would say, guys, you can't give what you don't have. And we've talked about this before on the show, but John Maxwell's law of the lid is you can't, if your organization is only going to grow as far as you grow. So you have to, from a personal perspective, is we have to give ourselves time to be filled up, right? And so from a biblical perspective, if you look at even in Matthew, in the book of Matthew, where Jesus starts his Sermon on the Mount, he starts it by saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they will receive the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. And so really what he's saying there is you've got to empty yourself, poor in spirit, okay? Empty yourself so that you create that posture, but you give yourself the capacity to allow God to fill you up.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't fill you up, you've got nothing to offer. You've got nothing to give.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there too, that, sometimes we're going through a series at our church right now called Identity, and our pastor brought out a mirror and he said, look, the first thing we have to do with identity is figure out, we have to take a reflection. Look at yourself in the mirror. If you're looking in a lake, in a pond, you're always going to see a reflection for the most part, unless it's dark outside. And then even then, you're going to see a shadow of yourself. So you still see a reflection no matter how you look at it, right? And if we always take a look at ourselves and figure out, where we're trying to go, where we're trying to get, and yes, Adam, you do have to have rest. We're going to be talking about that soon today.
Yep.
You have to make time for that. And because it's you get caught in the grind and you get caught in your rhythm, but sometimes you can get out of rhythm even being in rhythm. So
Yeah.
just think about that, get yourself in that personal rhythm Brady's talking about. You can't give what you don't have. And man, I've learned that probably the last 3 years more than ever.
So look, and that good. I mean, that's really good, Benji. Good perspective. When we look at it as a leader, or even in our family life, when we talked about this last episode, but when you get out of rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
you're on the verge of burnout.
Yeah.
You're on the verge of exhaustion. So you have to give yourself some type of rhythm. For me, and we've talked about C12 before, but C12 gives me this rhythm for me from a personal level because I have, some other men that I'm accountable to every month. I was just there yesterday. And part of the C12 model is something called the balance wheel. I'll just walk through these real quick, but the balance wheel, I'm accountable to other people for these different areas in my life. So my walk with God, marriage and family, how am I discipling others, personal finance, biblical community, fun and recreation, fitness and nutrition, rest and retreat, and then my walk with God, or I walk with God, we already said that. But I'm accountable to these different areas and it's actual will. So
Yeah.
like yesterday, my will was, if you look at it, it was like a flat tire because there were some areas I was real heavy in or I'd scored real well in from 0 to 10. And there were other areas that I needed some improvement on. And so that's a rhythm for me to say, okay, well, let's look at, we'll pick on one like rest and retreat. I'm not good at rest and retreat. I mean, I'm like, let's go, go. What's the next thing? What do we need to be doing? I've got to be able to give some capacity, to my wife, to my kids. And I remember actually one of the guys in our group, we were talking about marriage and family and specifically marriage. And one day he talked about 3 Ds in marriage. And we were like, okay, what's 3 Ds? He said, well, if you want a strong marriage, then you want to discuss daily. Okay, so have a conversation with your wife every day, like intentional time. Date weekly. So physically go out on a date, take her to dinner, you plan it, that type of thing, and then depart monthly. And it's like get away for, a day or a weekend or something. But that's a rhythm that actually Melissa and I've been doing for a little while, and it's very helpful. But all those other areas are ones, and you're not get them all good at the same time. But it's good to from me, from a monthly perspective, is to look back and say, hey, how am I doing in these areas? What are the things over the next month that I need to try to work on and improve?
Yeah, and to your point, you're taking a reflection of yourself, right? You're trying to make sure that you stay on track, but you got to give yourself time to get that planning in. Whether it's your family, whether it's your business, whatever, you've got to make sure you get that time for planning because sometimes even though our calendar might quote be filled up, is it filled up with the right things and the right activities? So you just got to take a reflection of that.
Yep. So, from I guess a practical standpoint, if you look at somewhat of like a quarterly reset, can you, like Benji said, can you book it out on your calendar to go away for the day? Just have some strategic time, or on a Saturday. I know it's tough right now, probably because there's college football and things like that going on. But can you get away with your wife and just focus on your marriage or focus on some things that you need to improve on? I know another big one for me is, and I'm still trying to figure out like how to get this right, and I don't know necessarily if there's a right way, but the Bible is very clear about Sabbath and how do we Sabbath, how do we rest? God did it Himself. He worked for 6 days and then the last day He rested. So if He thought it was important, then we probably need to do something there. And I haven't I haven't mastered that one yet. I think that's gonna take some time for me to. But what do you guys do? I mean, as far as like a rest and retreat or a quarterly reset.
Well, I know so we're off Fridays and Saturdays. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that we've tried to do more because the girls have school on Friday. Emily works on Fridays. So one of the things I try to do is either one, I'm booking clients on Fridays, whether it's photo shoots, video shoots, things like that. If I'm working with you guys on Fridays, I feel that because they're not there. Like for me, I don't get the rest just being at home, like without like if I'm
Right.
not without unless I'm doing something, a
Yep.
honey-do list, something like that. So we'll do those, but what I have done is some of those Fridays where because typically if I'm working with you guys, I'm there all day. But if it's something where I'm working with a client, I've got a quick photo shoot. I always try to take those Fridays and kind of take that marriage principle and try to at least go have lunch with Emily, once or twice a month if I can on a Friday. I'll go downtown, we'll go find a place to eat. But Saturdays have really become that for us as a rest day because we don't typically have anywhere to go. We don't have anything that we're doing unless the girls are involved in some type of sports or something like that. And then really that rest is together as a family.
Mm.
So that's kind of what our process has been is using that. I know personally I need to be better about using Fridays. That's why our work week is scheduled that way because technically Saturday Sunday is a full work day for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But that's where I think I've shared that with you guys before. That's where my struggle is I mean, if somebody calls and wants something, like I feel like I leave money on the table if I don't take it. So that's something I'm personally having to work through.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's as Brady said, this time of year with college football, NFL football, we've Saturday we try to we go down to Auburn or whatever and be at the games, just hang out with the family. Our oldest is at Auburn now, so it makes it a little easier to get down there more, obviously. But we went down there a weekend ago and we just kind of chilled at her place for a half a day. We didn't do anything. We just kind of sat there, hang out, and then Sunday afternoons after church we come in and we all crash for a couple hours, just put the football games on TV and just sit there and just relax. Don't open a
Yeah.
computer. Don't have your phone. Just literally just sit there. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, and there's times that Sarah and I'll try to get away for a weekend, and we're in a kind of busy season of life right now. But we're going to get back to that here coming up soon. But it's just how it is when school starts and you try to get the kids back in a groove and you got work going on, you got church going on, you got community groups going on, whatever. So it does make it difficult, but to your point, Brady, we got to make that time. You got to make that time to
Yeah.
rest and relax sometimes.
Yeah. Got to be intentional.
Yep.
So here's kind of the final thought on this particular section is, and this is kind of a challenge to us and to you guys that are listening. But if I can lead my company quarterly, but I can't lead myself quarterly, am I in trouble?
Yeah.
Right?
Good.
And a lot of times we think, well, it's not about me, those types of things, but it's really not selfish. It's really stewardship. How are you stewarding? Again, going back to that initial thought of you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to learn and to grow so that you can help others. So, um, what we want to talk about next is really so that we just talked about how to lead ourselves and get into that quarterly rhythm. Now we extend it to the family.
Mm,
So how do we do that well as a family? How are we stewarding our families? And they need rhythm as well. We
yep.
go through different seasons of. I know a friend of mine, we were just talking about in C12 yesterday. They do competitive soccer, and it's busy in the spring and in the fall. So what do you do in the summertime? Are you enjoying other things? Are you having more of a restful season or busy? And I know people that play like travel softball and travel baseball, and but how do you get into a quarterly rhythm? But also, how do we lead our families in such a way that I remember somebody telling Melissa and I one time that we're not really raising kids. We're raising future adults.
Yeah.
So how are we preparing them to go out into the world and to live? And I mean, one thing that we started doing recently is really thinking about, and I was challenged with the next 100 years, the next 5 generations. like what is the fifth generation from our family going to look like, and how are they going to perceive, what we've done and some things that we've set up. So we actually started doing like a family board meeting, and we'll meet monthly, but really on a quarterly rhythm to teach like core principles of stewardship and financial and budgeting and organization and those types of things. Because I guess the realization that I had was I'm doing that at work. I'm mentoring people on how to do this stuff, but am I really mentoring my own kids of
That's
how to
good,
do
Brandon.
that? And I've got a 20-year-old that just got married, and I've got a 17-year-old that's going to graduate this year. So that's been like a personal conviction of mine of how am I handing these things down to my own family. If I'm gonna do it in work, I need to do it with my family too.
That's a good point because we're going through a season right now with our son. It's a good season. Don't get me wrong, but always wanting to do this to a vehicle or try this with a vehicle and put subs in and change tires and do this and
I've
try.
been there.
I mean, YouTube is the answer for those parents out there listening right now. They seem to think that YouTube is the fix all be all for everything that you have. So if YouTube says you can do it, you can do it.
Oh yeah,
But you
it's
but you
easy.
look up and the oil cap is missing, and why is the oil low? Oh, there's your problem right there. So to your point, we get caught up in these year. I would say a year ago, man, we really had a struggle with our son just to try to look. Every time you do something, you're breaking it. Every time you do this, so I'm trying to change my mentality to get in that quarterly rhythm for him. Because as you guys know, every kid's different, right? I mean, they all adjust and adapt to different things. And trying to tell him, look, if you'll take care of this, this is what it will benefit you in the future. If you want to do these things to your vehicle, you're going to have to take the time to get a part-time job to pay for this because we're not paying for this. You have to teach them those principles. And then our youngest, of course, again, the oldest is in college, but the youngest, we were last night at dinner and she said, Daddy, I'm really glad that I get to go to church because I get to study the Bible. And she's starting to write her Bible verses down. She's quoting scripture. And,
It's awesome.
you get in that quarterly rhythm with your family. And because we did have a season, and Adam knows this being in the softball world too. But man, we got so busy with softball and baseball and soccer. And I said it a minute ago, but we filled the calendar up. But for the
Yeah.
family, you looking back, I go, maybe there was a reason they got burnt out on doing this because I was probably pushing it more than they wanted to do it. So you got to, again, taking that reflection of yourself, but at the same time, putting them in a position what matters most. And what matters most is eternity at the end of the day. You
Yep.
can,
Yeah.
again, you can fill your calendar up, but make sure it matters. And for those of you that might be listening out there, just encourage you. If you want to reach out to us, we can give you some tips and
Yeah.
principles of how to do that. We'd be glad to share it with you.
I heard a pastor tell me one time, if the devil can't get to you, he'll use your schedule to get to you
Oh, for sure.
because he's
Oh
going
yeah.
to use that against you, and because he knows if, all right, well, if I can have their schedule filled with these, and keeps them from being in the Word, or it keeps them from being in community with people, or just keeps them from being at church with their church family, that's how I'm going to get to them because I'm
Hmm.
going to keep them disconnected. Keep them from being where they're growing and encouraged by others, and I'm going to use that against them. So I've always tried to do that because we've gone through that same thing, Benji. That schedule,
Yep.
the kids are busy, and you want to, as a parent, as a father, you want to give these kids the things that they want to do. You want to let them enjoy softball. You want to let them enjoy these things, but that's one of the things that we've done, and we've got non-negotiables. That's one of the things we've gone through as a family is every Wednesday night we're at church together. And what
Yep.
we've done is we've created a rhythm where, I typically leave the church around 3:30 and I go pick up the girls. Emily leaves work at 4, and then we go have dinner. We go
Nice.
meet somewhere down Valley Dale where the church is. We've got several options. We let the girls
Chick-fil-A.
pick something, Chick-fil-A, But hey, look,
Right.
Metro Diner is one of my favorite
Oh
places
yeah.
to go.
Solid.
Oh yeah.
But we go, and what's nice is we put phones down, we put everything aside, and so we typically get there about 4:30. I don't have to be back to the church till about 5:45, 6 to start prepping and getting things ready. And man, for that hour, we just sit and we have family time together. We have dinner together, and we do it. We've been doing it for probably 2 or 3 months, and we've created that rhythm as a family to say, hey, Wednesday nights we're gonna meet up. We're gonna find a place. We're gonna go sit down and we're just gonna enjoy talking. How's our day?
Yeah.
How's your week been? What are you doing? So that's been really good for us. And then we go do church together, which is great. If I'm not serving or Emily's not serving, if I don't have something I got to do, Wednesdays has been really good for her and I to sit together, because we do a full Bible study at the church. We have a full service on Wednesday, and that's just been good for us as husband and wife, and for the girls because they're getting fed, like you're talking about, Benji. But just sitting down, because Sundays for me it's wild. I'm running around.
Sure.
I'm running a team. We're fixing issues. It's just Sundays are crazy. So Emily and I don't get to sit in church together a lot. So it's like what you're talking about, Brady. We find those things during our week that we can do that. So Wednesdays has been that for us. I get to sit
Yeah,
with
great.
her during Bible study, and it's just nice for her and I to have at least that Wednesday night when we know Sundays are crazy.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, just thinking about your family, and we'll wrap up this section. But I'm just reminded of a verse in Proverbs that says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children."
Mm.
And that's not necessarily, a lot of us may think of, well, that's money or finances or whatnot, but it's really not. It's wisdom. Proverbs is wisdom literature. So what kind of legacy are you leaving? What kind of inheritance, quote unquote, are you leaving? And what are you teaching your kids? And all those things. But again, it goes back to, you can't give what you don't have. So you have to do those things yourself first. So whatever that looks like for you guys, as far as some type of a quarterly rhythm with your family, or it could be monthly or weekly, like you guys were talking about, whatever it is, it's just setting aside some time to reflect and talk about, what are we experiencing as a family, or what's going on in the world. Maybe, some conversation. Benji said, put the phones away, and that's probably hard for all of us to
It's
do
hard
when
for
we're,
all of us. Yeah, for sure.
All of us.
yeah, because it's so distracting. I mean, we were before the show, we were talking about TikTok, which I do not have TikTok, by the way. All right, I think TikTok is of the devil. But
It's a
there are
new
other.
search engine though.
I
New search
know,
engine,
I
man,
know.
like you need something.
Apparently, you can shop in there. I didn't. Somebody told me about that the other day. I was like, TikTok shop. Okay,
Wow.
well, that's interesting. So what we want to do is, I mean, last episode we talked about the business part, and this episode we talked about more of family and personal type things. But how do we take all this information and really give you guys a call to action? Benji said this, but if you guys need some help, then reach out to us, or give us some comments. We'll try to help you in whatever way that we can do. Some of you, I think we did this in the last series that we did, but some of you leaders are going to be like gung ho, like, okay, what do I need to do, like right now? Like we're gonna go and implement this tomorrow, and that's great. Some of you may think about it and kind of reflect on it, but whatever you do, at least do something, take some type of action. So kind of in review is just really from a quarterly rhythm type perspective, is we want to review, we want to reset, we want to recommit. And so what reviewing the last quarter from a business perspective, what are the objectives, the goals that we came up with for the year? Are they still working?
Mm.
Do we need to reset any of those or refocus on any of those? And then with either yourself or your team is really a recommitment. I don't know about you guys, but like in our world, 3 months is a eternity.
It is a long time. Yeah.
Long
Very long
time.
time.
And so it's almost good to say, okay, now what do we decide to do? And let's go back and recommit to those things. One thing that we do in our business, and we'll actually do in
November.
October. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's
we'll
right.
do it in
Yeah, yeah.
November.
That's right.
Yeah, but each quarter we actually take our team offsite. So
Yeah.
we call it a quarterly offsite. So we get away from the hustle and the grind of the day to day in the office, where there are those distractions, or hey, can I meet with you? Hey, can I see people in the hallway? We take our team offsite. We reflect on the quarter, and then we actually try to go do something fun together. It doesn't have to be like super expensive. Benji, I think last quarter we went and played at a new indoor putt-putt place.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was a lot of fun, just seeing some competition and the team having some fun. But what other wisdom would you guys offer up as far as action steps, or how do we take action on what we're trying to do here?
Adam, I'll let you go first.
I mean, one of the things that we've really been trying to do lately is just reevaluate where we're at as an organization. I mean, I think I've shared, we're at that point right now with the church where we're moving from mom and pop to a more larger, well-oiled organization. And so I think something that for us that we're going through right now that we need to continue going through is just evaluating what our processes are. And so one of the things that we're working through is we're trying to put things in place where, and it's going to be very new to the team. It's different for them, but like any project, video, graphic, event has to be submitted for we have what we call a budget and project planning tracker. And this is just one example. This is just the first step that we're doing to kind of look at those things. And it gave us a chance to step back. We met with the team yesterday and said, "Look, we know this is going to be like drinking from a fire hose, but we're having to make these steps because we've got to make changes. We can't just walk into an office and say, "Hey, do you have time? Hey, can you do this?" We've got to really plan these things out. So I think that's something that I would challenge anyone to look at it is reevaluate those and then really having those conversations with your team. That's something I brought up yesterday. We've got some things that we're working through. Like our student ministry is very student led. Like it's awesome, but they lead their own worship, they lead their own media team, they lead everything. But we've got to step back and say, all right, we haven't had a meeting in a couple months, just like you said, Brady. It's been probably
Yeah.
more than three. I brought up, I said, hey, when we're done with our big student event next week, we need to get the student creative team together, and we need to cast some vision. We need to express some of the changes we're making, and have that, because I think if you aren't having those sit down vision casting meetings, you're going to lose what the point is. And so
Yeah.
I think those every 3 months, because like I agree with you guys 100%. 3 months 90 days is a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of things change.
Long
I
time.
mean, think about it. Summer's roughly, 2 months, 3 months, depending on where you're at. You've got that, and then kids get back into school, and then seasons change, and then holidays are here. I mean, 3 months is a lot. That's why I feel like everything is really split into the quarters, because
Yeah.
you've got to look at those things and evaluate. So that's something I would challenge, is really making sure that you're not going more than 90 days, and looking at things, because your business, your church, your anything that you're in, to me, it should constantly be evolving, because business is evolving the way things are. I mean, trends, social media, technology. I mean, think about it. How much we use Chat GPT now for everything. I mean, I,
Here's
no,
Adam's using Chat GPT.
Hey,
what's funny is my wife, if I tell her I use it, she's like, "Didn't you give Brady a hard time about using it
Yeah.
all the time?" I'm
Yeah. Thank you,
like, I
Emily.
really,
Thank you.
please don't tell him this.
oh,
Yeah.
this is making a social media reel. I'm just telling you.
Oh yeah.
So just for the record, yesterday I was talking with a guy and I was like, "What in the world did we do without Chat GPT? Like
Yeah.
we actually had to research stuff. Now you
Yeah.
just type it in and it tells you what it is."
Well, and this is why I say that. I mean, like even for me, when I'm billing out projects and I'm trying to figure out where that median is for the right return, but I also, I use it a lot to say, all right, if I'm making X amount of money and I have these expenses, how much do I need to set aside for my federal estimated taxes from this project? How much do I need to tithe off what I make? So I mean, it is, and like I said, I know that's totally off subject with it, but I mean, my point is that things change quickly, and if you're not evaluating those,
Yeah.
it's going to hurt your team in the end. And then we talked about this yesterday. Is our job really as leaders is to try to keep from having that burnout. Our creative and worship pastor, she tells us, my job is to be mama bear, and my job is to protect the two of you, because I know the two of you have a hard time saying no to the team because you want the
Mm.
team to succeed. So
Yeah.
I need to protect the two of you to make sure those things are. And I think that's our job as leaders as well,
Yep.
because especially in my field, I don't want anyone having church hurt or being burnt out, because the church, especially for creatives, yeah, hey, can you do this? Can you take these photos? But I mean, even in the business you guys are in, that can easily happen. Somebody could get used over and over for something because they have a skill set. And so it's just that evaluation for me is where I feel
Yeah.
like it's so important.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick thing, Brady, and we'll let you wrap it up. But
Okay.
I think for me, it's again taking a reflection of ourselves, getting in that quarterly rhythm. Again, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whatever, getting that quarterly rhythm and try to stay focused on that and fill your calendar again with things that are important. Make priorities the priority, and that's what you want to stick with, because again, you don't want to fill that thing with the wrong items that just are busy work. I'm actually mentoring a guy right now and we're strictly talking about how to be better organized, using a calendar, using a task list. We've met 3 times, and he told me this last week. He said, "Man, I never knew I needed it like this before. Like
Mhm.
this." And he's bringing out other challenges that he's picking up on himself and saying, "Man, I didn't know that I was actually doing this way, but
Yeah.
now that I'm seeing it on this side, it makes so much more sense if I just stay focused on that item at hand." So really good. Again, just encouragement. Stay in that quarterly rhythm. It's not perfect, but you can get there over time.
Yeah. So just three things to kind of wrap us up. One is, I think it was Patrick Lencioni that said this, but when everything is important, nothing is.
Mhm.
Okay, so just reflect on that. When everything is important, nothing is. So you have to figure out what the priorities are. And for us as leaders, then what the quarterly reset does is allow us to, again, to reflect.
Yep.
I was reminded too of, and there's multiple people that say it different ways, but James Clear, you don't have to get this all right tomorrow, right? What he talks about the 1%. So just try to get 1% better every single day, and by the end of the year, it's exponential what will happen. But if you try to go out and do everything differently tomorrow, then you're going to get burnout. You're going to get you're just going to try to overachieve, and it's not going to go well. It's not going to happen. So this whole thing is not about perfection. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
more about direction. And so how are we looking at the future? We're reflecting on the past to look at the future to see what do we need to do different? What do we need to change? Like I said, some of you are going to try to go out and do it tomorrow, and that's great. Others, you may want to dip your toe in the water, but at least do something.
Or find a mentor, Brady. Find a mentor.
That's a great point. Find somebody that can help walk you through this. If you don't know how to do it, then find somebody that will help you. Maybe somebody in your church, maybe somebody in your organization, your business. There are people out there that want to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a funny story, totally separate. You're talking about mentor. Um, our pastor's daughter, she's kind of like my right hand person at the church. She's our social media coordinator. And Emily and I were just sitting last night watching TV, and I got a voice memo for her, and she was like, "Hey, this is kind of random." And she was like, "But I just wanted to brag for you for a moment." She said, "I have a friend that I saw posted something, and I guess she broke her camera, like she put it in a bag, and she was like, I just want to tell you, like, thank you for teaching me to like protect my camera and stuff." She was like, because when she first started doing it, I said, "Kate, you need to go buy an expensive bag. So you want to buy for a $3,000 camera and put it in a $20 camera bag that you bought off Amazon?" I said, "It's an investment." And I said, "Protect that investment so that way you can continue to make money." And she sent that. And what's crazy is you guys, like, I mean, I was just telling her, like, I had an extra bag. I said, "Hey, I'll sell it to you. It's an expensive bag, but I'll give it to you for cheaper. I've got some other nicer stuff." I said, "But you need something nice. Like, you've got to protect your camera's your investment. That's where you make your money." And I didn't think anything of it. To me, it was just trying to tell her, but you don't realize, like, those small conversations as leaders,
Oh yeah.
we're going through a series right now at the church called Everyday Influencer. And you don't realize that the small things, the small conversations like that you're having with your staff, that you're having with the people like you guys are mentoring or that are mentoring you, these small conversations lead to larger things. And, it was just, I told Emily, I was like, that it meant a lot. And I just didn't think about something as small as like, "Hey, put your camera in a nice bag, like protect it."
Mm-hmm.
That she would see that and she was like, "Hey, just thank you for like mentoring me and teaching me these things because I'm learning the things that I'm buying I need to protect, and I need to use those." So I thought that was cool when you're talking about mentor and the things that you do. You don't realize
Yeah.
these small conversations. It creates this rhythm that you're talking about and what it's going to do for your business and for you personally.
Yeah.
And Adam, if you would like me to mentor you how to use ChatGPT, I'd be glad to.
I'll be honest with you. I might be able to run circles around you a little bit now.
Uh-oh.
You're up for a challenge there, buddy.
Look, we got some stuff coming up. I need you to teach me anyway. So,
Well, as Brady said, just remember, rhythm is not about perfection. It's about direction. Just want to say thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Higher Up Podcast. Again, you can check us out on any social platform at Higher Up Podcast. You can subscribe at thehigheruppodcast.com. We would love for you to share this episode maybe with someone that may be looking for a mentor, maybe looking to get in that rhythm, or just confused on how to even get in the rhythm. Share this with someone. And we just want to say again, thank you so much for tuning in, and go out and choose to live a higher up life. See you next time.